At 23 years old, he was making $2 million a year. He had everything: money, power, respect on the streets of New York City. Then one morning, he woke up in a prison cell, staring at a 7-year sentence. The doctor told him he'd be dead within 5 years if nothing changed. This is the true story of Coss Marte, the man who went from drug kingpin to prison inmate to CEO of a multi-million-dollar fitness empire. And it all started in the most unlikely place imaginable. Coss Marte was born and raised on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. But this wasn't the gentrified, trendy neighborhood you see today. This was the 1990s, a time when his block was one of the most dangerous places in New York City. His parents were immigrants, working multiple jobs just to keep the lights on. But it was never enough. Coss watched his mother work herself to exhaustion, and still they struggled. He knew from a young age that the regular path, school, college, a normal job, that wasn't going to be his way out. At just 11 years old, Coss started working. Not at a grocery store delivering newspapers. He started as a lookout for local drug dealers. His job, stand on the corner and whistle when police came around. For this, he'd make $50 a day, more money than he'd ever seen. By 13, he wasn't just a lookout anymore. He was dealing. What started as survival quickly became something bigger. Coss was smart, frighteningly smart. While other dealers were flashy and reckless, Coss studied the business. He treated it like a corporation. He implemented a delivery system. Before Uber Eats, before any app, Coss was running a delivery service for drugs in Manhattan. Customers would call a number, place an order, and Coss's team would deliver within 30 minutes, guaranteed. He hired runners, lookouts, managers. He created shifts and territories. He even offered customer loyalty programs. This wasn't just dealing. This was a sophisticated operation, and it worked. By the time he was 19, Coss was making thousands of dollars a day. By 23, he was clearing $2 million a year. He had designer clothes, expensive jewelry, respect from everyone on the streets. He thought he'd made it, but there was one problem. The same intelligence that made him successful had caught someone else's attention. The NYPD had been watching him for months. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Coss was sleeping when his door burst open. Federal agents, NYPD, DEA, they'd built a massive case against him. Years of surveillance, wiretaps, testimony from people he thought were loyal. He was arrested and charged with multiple counts of drug distribution. The evidence was overwhelming. His lawyer told him the truth. He was looking at serious time. The judge handed down the sentence, 7 years in prison. Coss was 23 years old, and his life as he knew it was over. The first night in prison, reality hit him. This wasn't a movie. This wasn't temporary. 7 years. He'd be 30 when he got out, if he got out. But it got worse. A few months into his sentence, Coss woke up with chest pains, sharp stabbing pains that made it hard to breathe. He was taken to the prison medical facility, and after tests, a doctor sat him down and gave him news that would change everything. His cholesterol was dangerously high. His blood pressure was through the roof. At just 23 years old, weighing over 230 pounds in a 5'7" frame, the doctor told him, "If you don't change something, you'll be dead within 5 years." Dead. Within 5 years. Coss sat in his cell that night, and for the first time since he was a child, he cried. Not because of the prison sentence, not because of the money he'd lost, but because he realized he'd wasted his entire life. And now, that life might be ending before it ever really began. That night marked the beginning of something nobody, not even Coss, could have predicted. The next morning, he made a decision. If he was going to die in 5 years, he wasn't going to die the same person who walked into this prison. He was going to change. But there was a problem. Prison doesn't have fancy gyms. There were no weight machines, no personal trainers, no nutritionists. All Coss had was his cell, his body weight, and time. Lots of time. So he started doing push-ups, 10 at first, then 20, then 50. He did squats until his legs burned, burpees until he couldn't breathe. He created workouts using only his body and the space in his cell. Every single day, without exception, Coss worked out, rain or shine. Whether he felt like it or not, he exercised. The other inmates thought he was crazy, working out for hours in a tiny cell, sweating, pushing himself to the limit. But Coss didn't care what they thought. For the first time in his life, he wasn't doing something for money or respect. He was doing it to survive. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into a year. And something incredible started happening. The weight dropped off. First 10 pounds, then 20, then 50. Coss lost 70 pounds in prison using nothing but bodyweight exercises. His chest pains disappeared. His blood pressure normalized. The man who'd been told he'd be dead in 5 years was now in the best shape of his life. But something else changed too. Something deeper. As Coss transformed his body, his mind transformed too. He started reading. He took business classes offered in prison. He educated himself on health, fitness, nutrition. And he started thinking, what if I could take what I've learned and use it when I get out? What if this could be something bigger? After serving his time, Coss Marte walked out of prison in 2013. He was 30 years old, had a felony record, and less than $300 to his name. Most people in his position would have struggled to find any job. Fast food, manual labor, even those places often won't hire people with felony records. Coss could have easily fallen back into his old life. The money was still there on the streets. The connections were still there. But he'd made a promise to himself in that prison cell. He was done with that life. Instead, Coss did something that seemed impossible. He decided to start a business. He called it ConBody, short for convict body. The concept was simple but revolutionary. Prison-style bodyweight workouts taught by formerly incarcerated people in the heart of New York City. People told him he was insane. Who would want to work out with ex-convicts? Who would trust someone with his background? Why would anyone pay for exercises you could do for free? But Coss understood something others didn't. He knew his story was powerful. He knew that people were tired of fancy gyms with expensive equipment they didn't know how to use, and he knew that what worked in a prison cell, where you had nothing, would work anywhere. He started teaching classes in parks, free classes, just him and whoever would show up. 5 people came to his first class, then 10, then 20. Word started spreading. A local news station did a story on him. Then another. Then the New York Times wrote about ConBody. Suddenly, people weren't just curious, they were inspired. Coss opened his first official ConBody gym, then a second location. He hired other formerly incarcerated people as trainers, giving them second chances like he'd gotten. He landed major clients. Celebrities started coming to his classes. Then, something remarkable happened. Coss was invited to pitch ConBody on the TV show Shark Tank. Standing in front of millions of viewers, he told his story: the drug dealing, the prison sentence, the transformation, the business. And he got a deal. Mark Cuban, one of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in America, invested in ConBody. The kid from the Lower East Side who'd been a drug dealer, who'd spent 7 years in prison, who'd been told he'd be dead by 28. He was now a legitimate CEO with a multi-million-dollar company. Today, ConBody is more than just a gym. It's a movement. Coss Marte has built something that changes lives, both for the clients who get in the best shape of their lives and for the formerly incarcerated people he employs, giving them opportunities society said they didn't deserve. He's been featured in major publications around the world. He's spoken at universities and conferences. He's become an advocate for criminal justice reform and second chances. But here's what makes Coss's story truly powerful. It wasn't luck. It wasn't a handout. It wasn't even the business idea, really. It was the decision he made in that prison cell when a doctor told him he'd be dead in 5 years. The decision to change, to take responsibility, to use his intelligence, the same intelligence that made him a successful drug dealer, and channel it into something that could actually help people. Coss Marte's story proves something we often forget. It doesn't matter where you start. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you've made. It doesn't even matter if the whole world has counted you out. What matters is what you do next. What matters is whether you're willing to put in the work when nobody's watching. What matters is whether you can take your lowest moment and turn it into your greatest comeback. From $2 million in drug money to a prison cell. From a death sentence to 70 pounds lost. From a felony record to a thriving business empire. This is the story of Coss Marte, from dealer to CEO. And if he can transform his life, starting from a prison cell with nothing but his body weight and his determination, what's your excuse? If this story moved you, subscribe for more incredible true stories of transformation and redemption. New story every week.